Fortaleza, Brazil, with its sandy beaches, translucent waters and vibrant culture. An old city with a new tale to tell. High-rise residential and office buildings have come to dominate the skyline. It's a local tourism and shopping hub known for its leather and clothing manufacture. With a population of almost 3 million people, this is one of Brazil's biggest cities. Fortaleza is the capital of Ceara state, situated in the northeast of the country. This is where the business and political leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa converged for their 6th annual summit. Over 2 days, they would agree on policy they envision will ring in a new world economic order. These developing nations represent almost half of the world's population and 18% of the world economy.
At the tail end of the FIFA World Cup in Brazil, the city of Fortaleza welcomed the Brics nations. At the top of the agenda, the new development bank and whether it is the key to accelerating the development of these emerging markets.
Team South Africa. These are the men and women who lead the charge for business. They are members of the first Brics Business Council, set up while South Africa chaired the group from 2013 to 2014. Meeting here for a pre-summit briefing with the Minister of Trade and Industry. Under the leadership of mining magnate Patrice Motsepe, they laid the foundation for dialogue and deal-making among business in the 5 nations. By all accounts, it was a successful year for the group.
They've got a number of recommendations for what governments need to do to make business-to-business contact easier. And then they've also got a list of areas where different countries are seeking to promote business-to-business relations in the Brics partnership. And I think that those two pieces of work together will create a solid basis for strengthening business partnerships as we move further forward.
For South African business, chairing the Brics Business Council has seen deals and opportunities identified.
For instance, our construction company should be leading the way in terms of infrastructure in India and also in Russia. And there's a big opportunity. The next World Cup is in Russia, and as South Africans, we did very well in that sphere. Also in manufacturing of military vehicles, because of our capability in South Africa, there are opportunities of exporting that. And of course, in the aviation space, the ministers talk about that. We should work with them. It's a work in progress where we are going to assemble some of the aeroplanes in South Africa. And of course, our South African people in aviation should buy those planes to create an industry of manufacturing aeroplanes.
With the SA briefing done, the Brics Summit officially began with a meeting of the Business Council. In his speech, outgoing Chair Patrice Motsepe outlined the major opportunities for trade between the Brics Group and Africa. Integrating the continent into South Africa's business proposition was an important strategy.
Africa has a history with all of you, and that's why the trade ties is a natural progression of the huge amount of historical ties we have, but more specifically the huge opportunities we see. But the exciting thing is the African middle class is presenting a huge opportunity for the purchase of goods as well as services from the Brics countries, and we're very excited about what the future has in store. And that's why those numbers of saying that the trade between Africa and the Brics countries should be in excess of 500 billion by 2014 is something that we are confident and excited about.
But there are challenges to doing business among the Brics nations. Ease of travel, tariff and non-tariff barriers were among the issues flagged by the 5 working groups within the Business Council.
The working groups serve as a resource. A lot of the barriers that have been identified to trade, you spoke about visas and to treat foreign companies in the Brics countries like local companies and various others, are specific issues which were identified by business people, business leaders, CEOs from the Brics countries who've identified specific barriers and bottlenecks that they want us to propose to our governments to eliminate, and we've made big progress.
We've just heard Precious Motsepe handing over the baton from his chairmanship. What was achieved under South Africa's chairmanship?
Well, we have set a very tall target for our peers to follow. We set up the structure. Before then, it was just a dream. We never knew how we will meet. We met regularly. There was a bit of discipline set in. There was a framework in which we can cooperate. Of course, very keen, all of us, to bolster trade and investment patterns among representative countries, to prioritize on those areas that unite us, complementarities, and to identify those areas that potentially divide us. That was all achieved under the chairmanship of South Africa. They have been in awe at the achievements that we have made, and they do acknowledge that we have set a very tall bar for them. But at the same time, we're the first ones to realize that we could not have achieved much in 1 year. There's so much that still needs to be achieved. But what we are confident of is that we are setting a very strong foundation for greater strides to be made in this respect. And our view is that this should be accomplished in the next cycle of Brics meetings starting this year. In the next 5 years, we should achieve even greater. We are targeting that there should be greater investment within Brics. There should be growth in trade, and there should be greater sharing of skills. There should be greater cooperation in areas of research and development. And all of these things are done deliberately under the framework of Brics Business Summit.
Throughout the summit, the theme of consensus struck a chord, as did the enthusiasm and the will to make the partnership work.
What to me was really striking was the warm relationship amongst the Brics nations. Yes, we are countries that are divided by culture, by language, by the food we eat. But what was very, very telling to me, it was the coming together of business speaking in one language. But more importantly, I thought what is very good was the continuing of building of trust amongst the Brics nation. And this is important because business works on trust. Business likes certainty, business likes clarity, and the warmth that I saw amongst the various countries was encouraging for the future of investments across the Brics nations.
With the groundwork laid for business-to-business cooperation, the message was clear. It's time to get down to work.
So the industrialization is important because that's a key element to all 5 of these Brics economies' future aspirations. And I think the important thing with industrializing is the multiplier effect back into an economy through industrializing is more pronounced than most other economic activities. So that's where we put the focus. And as I said earlier, the focus now has to shift from the identification phase into implementation and execution.
Now we have to take it to the next level. So India in the process would like to see how we can really help Africa, primarily in the area of agriculture, because India has had a green revolution where we were able to become self-sufficient. We like to bring that revolution back into Africa, not only South Africa, but Africa as a whole. At the same time, on the pharma, well, we need to see affordable medicines because Africa in general has a lot of problems, especially in the areas like HIV, AIDS or TB. In these areas, India is much more cost effective. So it's very important for us to see how we can help our humanity in that manner. Same time, there's a lot of unemployment. You have youth which are suited, booted, but do not have the job. We have to have job creation. India is very good in developing skills of people. So we would like to see how we can cooperate with Africa, South Africa and the rest of Africa to develop skills so that people get employment. Our idea is to see how we can create employment, how we can get people, get engaged. Right now, Africa is exporting a lot of raw materials. Yeah. Now, like diamond is a big export to India. India is the biggest, diamond cutting center. Why can't we do it here? in Africa.
It's this beneficiation that is top of mind for all the players here. They agree it will grow small business and create jobs.
We've been producers of minerals and very rarely have we beneficiated. By beneficiation I mean very rarely have we created the end product. I wear a watch, and if that watch is a gold watch with diamonds in, the diamonds and the gold comes from us, but the watchmaking is not done by us. Just to be basic about that. So what we are saying is that we need now to start creating the end products in Africa, not just South Africa, but in Africa. Because what that means is that by so doing, we are able then to create small and medium enterprises, little factories that become to bigger manufacturing concerns.
Small and medium business development in South Africa is so critical if really we are to address especially the major challenge of unemployment. Big businesses are not going to help us crack the problem of unemployment, but small, medium businesses, proper regulatory environment, and then of course making sure that in the discussions within Brics we leverage the possibilities in these countries and keep this firmly on the agenda is what we have to do.
Keeping an eye on proceedings, unions from the Brics countries met on the sidelines. Preserving jobs, increasing wages and reducing inequality was on their agenda.
When you emphasize on the need for the African continent to industrialize, the first thing is that we've got to adopt similar rules that will not allow one country to develop at the expense of the rest of their countries. It means that the whole trade regime must be looked at. The whole package of how countries assist one another must be looked at it so that we don't recreate the independence syndrome from colonial era to now the big brothers of the South, but continuing with the same path of coming in to assist but not helping to develop the countries comprehensively.
After the break, Day 2 of the summit produces historic agreements to propel the agenda of the developing world. Stay with us. Just 2 days after the Soccer World Cup, the Brics heads of state met in Fortaleza for a private leaders' meeting. The excitement of the formalization of the Brics New Development Bank was palpable. Pre-summit hype of where the NDB would be headquartered had pitched India, China and South Africa against each other. But when the big announcement was made, the bank had something to offer each of the 5 nations. Concessions were needed to win the day.
Initially, the subscribed capital of the New Development Bank will be $50 billion, equally shared amongst members. The first chair of the board of governors will be from Russia. A Brazilian will chair the first board of directors. The first president of the bank will come from India. The bank will have its headquarters in Shanghai, China, and South Africa will host its regional headquarters.
So as South Africans who are handing over or have just handed over the Brics chairpersonship to Brazil should feel gratified, satisfied that we have handed over a very good handover report to Brazil. We have achieved on all the goals set in the eThekwini Declaration, which weaves into the theme that was clearly outlined by all the leaders in the summit. Amongst the key outcomes of Durban was the agreement for the establishment of a new development bank, the establishment of the contingency reserves, arrangements, the movement forward in strengthening our think tanks council, our Brics academic forum.
When are we likely to see the first loan being made?
we now have the founding principles. We've said that all countries will now have to fulfill their legislative arrangements because, as you would know, each country has got its own. But as soon as that has been done, when the board meets and appoints the various chairpersons, but it's something that should happen quite soon. I can't put time to it, but we're all committed to moving. If we had our way, we would actually start today.
Other key declarations include the establishment of a $100 billion Brics Contingency Reserve Fund and the Brics Export Credit and Guarantees Agencies.
The contingency reserve arrangement is also something, as Minister Nene said, which is very significant, because what it means is that if any one of us is in trouble, we can call on the support of everybody else, with a different set of conditionalities to those which are forthcoming from the established Bretton Woods institutions. A cooperation agreement between export credit insurance agencies. The significance of this is that many projects which take place in countries which don't have a long established record of peace, democracy and so on, countries which are emerging from conflict, but countries which nevertheless have a lot of economic potential, it is necessary to provide what's called political risk insurance by public institutions. Otherwise projects don't take place, investments don't happen, and trade doesn't happen. And by this cooperation agreement, our own Export Credit Insurance Corporation, which has been playing that role for South African enterprises on the African continent, is now able to work on a bigger pool of risk insurance, and hopefully that will be able to generate more support for more projects taking place on the African continent.
Exciting prospects for business. Frameworks to support growth and opportunities within the emerging nations.
Then once we get these two large institutions off the ground, one with $50 billion, another with 100, we begin to actually have two large institutions which help the whole effort of making Brics come together. But aside from that, our learnings are so huge because many of us, South Africa, India, have huge needs for infrastructure, Brazil, and we have, of course, countries like China who have achieved a lot in the infrastructure field. So the learnings there would be not just around the financing of infrastructure, but also what models work.
The summit has actually been, a success not only for South Africa but for the continent. I believe that the Brics Bank or the New Development Bank is a step forward in terms of realizing the objective of industrialization on the continent, but also focusing on infrastructure development. So indeed, it is a success for the continent, for South Africa. What you're seeing is that the Brics now has moved from being just an investment bankers concept to a real solid partnership for development as well as growth on the continent. And I think that is something that bodes well for our continent in terms of infrastructure development, cooperation and technology innovation in various spheres. That can only be good for the continent.
So there is a great need for infrastructure development and for development on the continent. And I think that the projects of the bank really would not just be about Brics countries' projects as it has been discussed in the bank, but it will be broader than just the Brics countries, and in particular the African continent.
You've been doing a lot of work through the council and the boards that you sit in and looking at innovation. Let's talk about that. How do you finance innovation? How should the bank think about financing innovation?
In the world today, everybody says that any country to be competitive has to have innovation. And Brazil is really fighting for that. You don't have innovation without entrepreneur. I have an idea, if you don't make it happen, nothing, even a patent, if I make an invention important, you have to have money to put this ahead and make money with that. So I think this also will be interesting if the bank has, and then behind that you have, in the world you have those called angels, investors that like your idea, and so they can really make this happen.
Now the infrastructure deficit in the African continent over the next 10 years is estimated at $1 trillion US. approximately $93 billion per annum. The funding deficit is around $30 billion. We need money, we need projects, but more importantly, we need project preparation and funding for project preparation. Africa's needs are enormous, and this new bank, I think, will be a game changer.
I think definitely from the South African session last year, the establishment of Brics Business Council was a key development. Also the development of the new Brics Development Bank, or New Development Bank as well, and then also the reserve currencies. I think those are issues that are key to future development of Brics. Brics, as we know, was just an acronym by Jim O'Neill, so this is actually giving some mortar and concrete to the Brics.
The new bank was created in part as a challenge to the current global financial order, which revolves around the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Players here contend that the infrastructure needs of the developing world are so vast that the NDB will complement those traditional Bretton Woods institutions.
We're going to continue with the reforms in the Bretton Woods institutions. All the countries are members of the IMF and the World Bank, and we see this actually as complementing, because we say there aren't adequate resources in those institutions to be able to address our developmental needs. Now we have something that would be focusing on the unique needs of the emerging economies. But it complements what is currently there. It's not only the Bretton Woods institutions. You can talk African Development Bank, and you saw also we also signed a cooperation agreement between the development finance institutions, where the DBSA also signed. So our backlog is so huge that we need more of these instruments in order to be able to achieve that.
I think we can never replace what the World Bank is, or what indeed the ADB is, and the effort would be here on a scale to really supplement and to fill in the gaps in terms of what our nations require, with an agenda which is very specific to 5 countries which have high growth and a number of areas which converge in terms of our need. So it just becomes more focused.
I think it just adds to the pool of what is available in terms of capital and funding. And of course, we are hoping that it would have a new way of structuring transactions and a new way of looking at development funding. Softer loans or allowing for ease of trade and things like those. I don't think it's necessarily competing with the others, but of course it's within the same space, and the more the merrier.
If the scope of the bank is to be broader than just the BRICS member countries, as you've indicated, what value is this new development bank really going to give? We already have the African Development Bank. We have the likes of your China Development Bank already very active on the continent. What are we seeking to bring that other development institutions are not already doing in Africa?
To complement, really, not to compete, but to complement the work that is already being done by other DFIs, development finance institutions. As you said, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, IMF, but more importantly, this will be a bank with a difference, because for the first time it is developing countries that are coming together and putting capital together to form a development bank on their own terms, and that will be sort of a nuance that will be there. But otherwise, I think the work will complement the work of the existing financial institutions, development financial institutions.
And for smallest member of the group, South Africa, building on foundations laid down in Durban a year earlier.
As a brand, I think South Africa has made their mark and will continue to lead and carry the baton for Africa. And as we integrate Africa and increase the intra-trade with Africa, you will see more and more the role of South Africa in terms of putting together the brand Africa, as it were.
So perhaps it's fitting that the last word should go to the economist Jim O'Neill. He recently wrote, "The establishment of the NDB will see the influence of the BRICS group rise in terms of global governance."
BRICS 2014 has come and gone. The new development bank is now a reality with the promise of fast-tracking the development dreams of emerging markets. And herein lies the litmus test for the grouping known as BRICS. For myself and the team here in Fortaleza, Brazil, it's goodbye.